I've been waiting for this for about 2.5 years. Thanks, Dan.
You bet, Tim. It was an honor to work on him.
So we're headed back to our taxidermist, Dan Lee of Artists Touch Taxidermy over in Dewey, Arizona. We're gonna get a quick update from him on where things stand with some of the deer that we brought to him. But I think the big story for today is we're gonna get some video of him putting the hide on the big typical 3-point that I killed a year ago in Mexico. He's gonna get that hide on the form today, and we want to go check it out and watch and learn and see Dan at work. So we're back here with Dan Lee at Artists Touch Taxidermy in Dewey, Arizona, and as you can see, we've got the hide put on the form of the deer. Last time we were here, we were putting in some clay and kind of building out the form of the and shape of the deer. Now, what's the next step, Dan? What are we going to do today?
We've been fine-tuning getting the eyes exactly right, the eyelids, and when you apply these deer, there's a lot of wrinkles in them, and instead of trying to take the wrinkles out, we put them back in and make sure they're in the right place, and then just soften up the wrinkles so they don't look like big wrinkles. And then we just go around, make sure the hide's up to the horn properly, and these pedicles, the hide is on it shaped instead of looks just like the ear goes into the pedicle. So,
and I don't know how well you can see it on the video, but this cape, this hide is still very wet. If you touch it, it's wet, it's still pliable, so he's able to work it. A moment ago you were saying, what, Dan, about 3 days that you'll continue to carve the wrinkles into it and push on it and mold it like clay almost.
Yeah, it's soft. And you've got actually the glue goes up into the wrinkles, and you can push it and kind of use it like a modeling, to get the wrinkles soft, and also to hold the hide down in place so you get the detail that you put into the form.
Right. And so, I mean, at this point it looks beautiful, but after we get this, you're going to continue to form it and work on it for the next few days. And then what? Does it go to paint, where you come in and touch up the eyes and nose and kind of bring it to life?
As soon as it dries, which, in this weather we could be a week, then you'll come in and I'll paint back, and these nostrils go way back. They're off cast, the nostrils, and I'll paint back into them, and then paint the nose and put the color back in that's faded out of it. And then it'll come to life. And each day that you go over it, the hide works better. It's just I used to do leather tooling, and that's the same process. The hide will stiffen up, and it'll take the detail and stay where it wants to be. Whereas when it's the first day or so, it really doesn't want to do what you want it to do. You just got to kind of work with it to get it to accept the detail that you want. It just takes patience and time and reference photos, and at this point we've used those. And now we're just in a matter of fact of keeping what we want there. Because as it dries, the hide wants to pull away from your detail, and you got to stay with it to keep it. If you've done it right, they look like they're alive. The last time that you saw these hides, we were IDing them and getting them ready to be fleshed down and thinned down for the tan. It's really even more than a tan. We had to split the lips and turn them so that they would get salt into them to make it sterile, kill all the live bacteria in there. And then the ears are turned inside out so that we can get salt to there. And then from there, they're put in the solution, the first part of the solution. And that usually can take up to a week to 3 days. But this solution, you can leave it in for years if you have to.
All right, we're back here today with Dan Lee of Artists Touch Taxidermy. He's going to walk us through some of the final steps of this buck from 2 seasons ago. And we're going to get to painting on it, put the final touches on it so that it can get ready to come home.
Oh, we're going to paint the back right here.
Okay.
We made a cast of rock, so it looks like rock.
Okay.
And we've got the base color in there. We're just going to put a couple coats on there and bring it out, the detail in it.
Right on. So when you go to paint this, do you use an airbrush or do you use brushes by hand? How do you usually do that?
I used to use airbrushes on everything, but I found with the high preparation, we don't need an airbrush anymore because we don't lose as much color in it. And in the rocks, I found that it's not that even. When you put it on with an airbrush, rocks are not that way. So
that makes sense.
It just works better this way.
You can get a lot more detail in a hand brush.
Yep. And then we'll let that dry. A lot of the color in Coues deer seems to, almost all animals vary. Some of them have light grayish color nose, and some of them have darker, and some of them are almost black. And this deer is on the lighter side. Do that. You can kind of see now the colors coming through in the little pads, individual pads. Whereas if you were to take an airbrush, it would just be a solid color. This is like the liquid that in between the eye and the lid. And it'll dry clear.
Last time we were here, we talked about how it's important to Dan and to us to do a figure 7 on the back of their head when tubing out the bodies and head of these bucks. And now we've got this buck that we killed a couple seasons ago that we're getting wrapped up, and we're going to be able to take him home soon. And Dan, can you show us kind of now a completed project?
We do the backwards 7 because of the back of the neck. The smaller the cut, the less problems you have, and it looks like a neck. You will not see a line running down here. And even from the profile, that's where it's a lot more critical, is if you have this hairline and it's going all kinds of different ways going down. We want this deer and to turn out like as close to nature as we can, and that's why we do a short incision and pull it out of there.
It's incredible. I'm standing super close to this, and I can't tell where the seam was, and I was there when it was skinned, so I know that we can't do nearly as good of a job at him getting it cleaned out in the field, but this is why we do it that way.
It won't be settled until it gets to your house. But it's all ready now, Tim. You can take her off of there.
I've been waiting for this for about 2.5 years. About 2.5 years ago is when Kate and I first saw this buck jump across the road in front of us. We dedicated ourselves that season to this buck. We didn't kill it. And then we came back the next season, relocated this buck. He's a little bigger, and I had the good fortune of killing him. So I've been waiting for this for 2.5 years. So he's going home with me today. He's gonna find himself on the wall where he can live and everybody can enjoy this work of art for as long as we live. Thanks, Dan.
You bet, Tim. It was an honor to work on him.
We're at the Mad Hunt studio today, and we're looking at a wall of the best trophy Coues deer that I've personally killed. And we just got a mount finished up from Dan Lee over at Artists Touch Taxidermy, and we're gonna hang that buck on the wall today. This particular deer is the smallest deer that we have up here right now. So we're gonna remove it, and we're gonna take it off, and we're gonna take the new buck and put it on today. So here's the buck that we just got finished from Dan over at Artist Touch. And this is a giant 3-point typical buck that I killed in Mexico a couple of years ago. He's almost 130 inches, Boone and Crockett. And we're gonna get him up on the wall right now. Well, there we go. Beautiful deer and great taxidermy work from Dan. And he's gonna hang on this wall where everyone can enjoy him for many, many years to come.